Hi guys, Gareth here and welcome to this Vino Plonk production. I hope you guys are doing very well. Now I keep saying this at the end of the video. For once I'm going to say this at the beginning of the videos. Please, if you like the content I produce, consider subscribing, and if you really like the content I produce, consider hitting the bell icon. Make sure the quotations are around it, and that will enable you to receive a notification to your device of choice every time I upload a video. Now onto the video in hand. So before I go any further, I would just like to say that I'm getting a bit miffed about people dictating how I spend my money. I spend my money how I want to spend my money. I don't question how other people spend their money or whether they've got the money to spend on this or that or that. It's entirely up to them. If they spend themselves into a hole, that's their lookout. Same with me. If I spend myself into a hole, you know, that's my lookout. And also, I want to say this before we go any further. Somebody, I know who the person is, let's be honest, it's my super troll. But somebody has been commenting on my videos recently saying, oh, tut priorities, Gareth. Believe me, my priorities are well within line. If my priorities weren't straight, do you really think I'd still be living here? Blah, blah, blah. You know, rent, food, everything else that needs taken care of has been taken care of. So, believe me when I say that, you know, priorities and stuff like that have been taken care of. With that out of the way, let's get on to the video at hand, shall we? I was going to say let's get into the positive section of this video, but depending on who you are, you may see this video as a bit negative. Intriguing, one might say. So on Sunday, I didn't buy it on Sunday, I bought it a couple of days previously, but on Sunday, the Song of Fire and Ice series by George R.R. Martin, the book series, arrived, and I updated you guys on that in a video earlier this week, I do believe. 2 seconds, we'll give water. I'll wet the old whistle, why not? And at the time, when I updated you guys, I said I'd be buying the Game of Thrones 1-7 box set on Blu-ray next month using some of the money that I still got left over from selling my Xbox last week. Well, things have changed ever so slightly. I have with me currently seasons 1 to 3 of Game of Thrones on Blu-ray. I've got seasons 4 and 7 still to arrive. Why 4 and 7? Well, they were being sold by the same seller. They had seasons 4 to 7, so 4, 5, 6 and 7, but only 4 and 7 were on Blu-ray, 6 and 5 were on DVD, and I prefer to get Game of Thrones on Blu-ray personally. That's just my own personal tastes, so to speak. So I bought 4 or bidded on 4 and 7 from them. I won them, and they are now arriving, hopefully early next week at some point, hopefully Monday actually. It'd be nice for those to arrive Monday. Now I'm a bit of a stickler for packaging. If you haven't been here a while, to be honest, most of my videos are now privated. I'm a packaging freak. I call myself a packaging freak. I like elaborate packaging. And one of the problems when you buy a complete series set is that you don't get the elaborate packaging you do with the single series releases. Also, as a series gets older, say Game of Thrones is now in season 7, season 1 gets re-released in a slimline packaging. So if I were to go to Amazon, say for instance, and buy Game of Thrones season or series 1, I'd get a slimline or a standard Blu-ray packaging, which, being a bit of a packaging freak as I call myself, you know, isn't going to fly. So I decided to start scouring eBay and looking for the original packaging of the Game of Thrones Blu-rays. And that's exactly what I managed to do. So, see, I'm not going to show them all off here because I will be doing a Blu-ray update when 4 and 7 arrive, hopefully next week. So they each come in a pretty glorious digipack with all of the discs. There we go. Boosh. So, excuse me. Put this back in its packaging. So seasons 1 and 3 On the eBay listing, both had these actual pictures, not as in photos, not stock photos. So these two had the actual items I hold in my hands in the actual photos, whereas season 2 was a stock photo. And I started getting extremely nervous. Why was I getting nervous? First of all, I was getting nervous it wasn't going to be a digipack, because I thought it was going to be the Slim 9 version. Luckily, nope, it did come and it is the digipack. Very happy. I was also nervous it was going to be a fake. So, over the last week or so, I've been searching Game of Thrones quite a bit on YouTube and watching people's unboxings of their own versions of Blu-rays, and that's what brought me to the decision to seek out the individual releases and buy those myself. However, scouring YouTube and scouring the internet, it's apparent to me, and this is my PSA, my public service announcement to you guys, there are a lot of fakes out there of Game of Thrones. Very good fakes in a lot of regards, but the best way you can tell that they're fakes is the cardboard quality, or the cardboard stock quality of the digipack inside. So the outer sleeve will be in pretty damn good nick, or will be almost like the original. This box here, which is pretty sturdy, cardboard, if you hear me knocking on it there, or I should probably do it here because that's where my microphone is. That's your first indicator, is how good of a quality is this. If it's a little bit thinner than you may expect, or you've seen other people show off, by the way, is that embossed? That's not embossed. Anyway, that's your first indicator. The second indicator is that the colouring on the characters on the digipack will be washed out. Now it's funny because this is actually in a sepia tone, but oh, this is season 2. But if the print or the ink on the actual digipack looks faded or washed out, that's your second indication that they're fakes. The third and final indicator that they're fakes is the quality of the cardboard, or the cardboard stock, and that's the thickness and quality of the cardboard. If it's thin or flimsy, or looks like it could be ripped, or easily ripped rather, or it's going to fall apart at any moment, that's a massive indicator to it being a fake. The reason why I was so nervous when I saw that season 2 was a stock picture is I've watched a couple of videos of people who've been scammed, I suppose, by people, and have accidentally bought fake versions of Game of Thrones, and funny enough, all of the people who've bought fake versions of Game of Thrones, the listing was a stock picture. I don't know whether it was just coincidence, but there's a lot of fake season 2s out there actually. Also, one other thing I would say is I don't know whether this is the original version of the first series or season, but there's two versions of season 1. The first version of season 1 is when I completely forgotten. There's 2 characters fighting on a bridge, and on the bridge are 3 heads, decapitated heads on the side of the bridge. Now, in the original release of Game of Thrones season 1, those 3 heads are of producers of the programme. They thought it'd be an interesting Easter egg to include the heads of 3 of the producers. Now, one of those heads, or one of those producers, is a coloured individual. He has dark skin. And when the series or season originally went out and people saw there was a dark skinned character on there, and most of the characters in Game of Thrones are primarily white, people started asking, oh, why is that the case? And rather than releasing a statement and saying, although Game of Thrones, or rather HBO, did release a statement eventually, but rather than releasing a statement and saying they're the heads of 3 of our producers on the series, because why not? It's an interesting Easter egg to include. They changed the heads. Now, from what I understand, it's only the focus group that saw, at the time, it was only the focus group that saw the black head, if you will. Sounds a bit wrong saying that, but you know what I mean. I think it was I can't exactly remember. I think that was the case. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. But people got a bit of a tizzy over it, and the funny thing with it is, I'm not surprised, but the focus group were people who've read the books, yada yada yada, who were extreme fans in Game of Thrones and The Song of Ice and Fire, and they were being sticklers. If I'm being completely honest, they were being sticklers. Anyway, when the series got shown on telly, they changed those heads. Little did HBO realise, but the masters that got sent for the Blu-ray, because, spoiler alert, the masters get sent to the Blu-ray company way ahead, or the distribution company, way ahead of the series finishing, were the ones of the original heads. So there's actually two versions out there. There's one with the original heads, and there's one with just generic heads on the side. And in fact, it's funny because the generic heads look, you can tell they're mannequins, you can tell they're fake. Whereas the ones that were modelled after the producers of the show actually look far more authentic and far better than was originally than the replacements. But, you know, people being sticklers and that kind of stuff. And I thought I'd mention that. And one of the reasons why I'm mentioning that is there are some people who try and seek out the original version of the seasons. On the outside, they're identical. You can't tell unless you actually look at the particular episode in question and can tell whether it's the original or the redone version. People are specifically looking for the original version, and we're willing to pay a pretty penny for that version. There are a lot of people out there that have gotten hold of those Blu-rays or DVDs. They've copied them, obviously, and they're just putting them into fake box sets. So please look out for that, guys. If you want the original heads, I'll call it the original heads, and you're looking for that particular set in particular, then A, be careful, because there are people out there who will sell you the replacement sets claiming it as the original sets because they haven't looked themselves or don't know themselves, to be completely honest. But there are a lot of fakes out there for that particular set. I mean, looking at the condition of this set, which isn't the best, I may be lucky, and I may have lucked into the original set here, which I originally owned back in the day. But yeah, this has just been a bit of a PSA to say to you guys, there are a lot of fakes out there of Game of Thrones, and to be careful. Question the seller, ask them, you know, ask them to give you photos, that sort of stuff, because you don't want to end up with a fake box set. Believe me, because I've spent quite a bit of money on these sets. Although I do have recourse with eBay, obviously, if they turn out to be fake, it's not nice to receive a fake set of any description. Anyway, guys, you know the spiel. Like this video, dislike it if you disliked it, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and I'll see you in the next video. Ta-ra.